Kenneth Igiri, and I like to tell people that I sell two core products: time and thought. Time is the most precious commodity in the universe. If I give you $1 million and I give you enough time to make enough mistakes, you will lose that $1 million. But if I give you 1 million years, it's likely that you can make back $1 million. Time and thought. I sell thought because of experience, exposure, and education. Whatever I pass to you as knowledge, I can never retrieve it. So when I put a price tag on it, I'm thinking about my 20 years in technology. Now, today, I want to also tell you about something I've created called Kabila, the strategy community. It's a community of career professionals and emerging entrepreneurs. And I want you to be part of that club. KennethIgiri.com/TSC. TSC, the strategy community. Now, there are a few things we espouse in this community, and I want to share them with you today. Let me start from a certain experience I had when I was doing my program in Certified Strategy Professional. I'm a CSP currently, and I did that program about a couple of years ago. I asked my tutor, because he's been a strategist for up to 200 companies in Ghana. I asked my tutor and I presented a challenge to him. Are large organizations succeeding because they have strategized properly or because they have a lot of money to play with? How do we know that your success is because you thought about your work well versus you had a lot of money to make mistakes around? So I decided to focus my effort in strategy on emerging entrepreneurs because I want to be able to trace back your success to depth of thought. To depth of thought. Now, what that means is that we espouse a certain set of core pillars. One is strategy, another is bootstrapping, another is trust, resilience, community, and another is the consumer goods industry. Now, there are a few reasons for that. Number one, strategy is fundamental to our way of, to our approach to business. Make the right choices based on your context. When you make the right choices, you are able to start on a firm footing. Face your reality and begin from there. The second is bootstrapping, pulling ourselves up by the boots. I can tell you the majority of successful businesses in our part of the world are driven by people who grew by resilience, not by the injection of excessive amounts of capital. Build your business for the customer, for the client, for the consumer, not for the investor. Try to impress customers, and investors will come after you. Not everyone will get $100,000 tomorrow. It doesn't always work that way. So bootstrap the business. Now, I want to also talk about the fact that you want to start from where you are. Number two, consumer goods. That is where Africans have an opportunity. We are probably the most populous continent on the earth in terms of density. We are told that in about 50 years, 1 in 4 persons on earth will be Africans. So if you're building something for the people, if you're creating value for the people, you are likely to last long if you stay long enough. Strategy is how you determine how long you can stay. So if you want to learn more about what we're doing, visit KennethIgiri.com/TSC, the strategy community. We have accompanying products. One of them is called the Simple Technology for Small Business. We live in an age where so much opportunity in AI, social media, podcasting like we're doing here at the pod today, and so forth, that allows someone to start from wherever they are with enough grit. They don't need a godfather. With enough grit, with enough resilience, with enough strategy and thinking, they could do almost anything from scratch. The factors of production are no longer land, labor, and capital. They may include things like internet. They may include things like relationships and so forth. So you want to articulate that in your own experience. You want to join a community where people are thinking like that. How do I start when no one knows me? How do I start when no one is giving me $100,000? How do I start with thought, with resilience, with relationships, and with my own context in view? That's what we talk about, and that's what we espouse in Kabila, the strategy community. Thank you. So, questions?
So I would like to ask, can strategies be faulty?
Yes, they can be faulty, and I'll talk about that in one way. We talk about strategy as what might be. And there are two main ways to think about your planning, your thinking. It is either based on data or largely based on data and largely based on logic. When you're thinking, your planning, your articulation of your next phase of experiences is based on data, it means the data already exists. That means you are assessing what has happened before. But in many cases, you need to assess what has not happened before. So you are now evaluating based on logic. Does it make sense? So we think about what might be. When you're charting that course, you have a chance to strike gold, but you also have a chance to fail if your logic is not consistent, or if there are factors beyond your scope that you can't do anything about. And that is why when we do strategy, we talk about both SWOT and PESTEL. SWOT asks you, what are your strengths and weaknesses? PESTEL asks you, what are the external factors which feeds into the opportunities and threats in your SWOT? So it's essentially saying, I can't control everything, but I can make a plan based on logic, not just data. Think about it like this. Before the likes of Yahoo and Facebook and Google and Twitter, who would have thought that building a platform where people just talk and gossip and post pictures could make so much money? Nobody would have thought of that. So a lot of the companies you see today, they did not build their business based on past data. There was no past data. They build their business based on logic, the possibilities. And when you pursue those possibilities, sometimes you fail, sometimes you win. But what if you win? That win could be great. Make sense?
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. So how do you create an effective strategy?
Creating an effective strategy is a series of guesses based on logic, right?
Okay.
So, and that is why people hire others to help them think through and challenge their thinking. When somebody challenges your thinking sufficiently, then you can determine to what extent it makes sense. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, we wanted to start a platform, an event center where people could come in, pay to walk through the gates, look at the flowers, spend time with people, have picnics, etc. Now, to us at that point, at that time, it sounded like a great idea because, wow, who wouldn't like a great environment to spend time in? But someone, his name is Michael Nanasafo, we talked to him and he asked us an interesting question. He said, do you know the Ghana, I think it was Gardens or something? He said, would you pay to get in there? Now, it doesn't mean that that environment did not have value. It's just that the context, the cultural context, the economic realities of our nations, the kind of people, potential customers we're dealing with, if you really think about it, they may not be willing to pay. They would like to be in that kind of place. They would like to be in a beautiful environment with flowers and trees and quietness, but to pay for it, that's a different kettle of fish. So in other words, it was a challenge to our business model. Your business model is how you make money from your venture. Now, we could think about making money from those who would pay to enter, or we could think about making money from some other way. Advertisements, promotions, non-profit orientation, and so forth. So in essence, developing a great strategy is about getting positioned properly so that what you are doing is what likely, we always say likely to succeed. So true strategists don't make you blanket promises. There's no such thing, because there are certain factors that you cannot control. But the closer you are at making your thinking logical, the greater the probability of success.
All right, that's really good. So what about foolproofing? How do you foolproof a strategy?
Foolproofing. I do not think there is anything like foolproofing your strategy.
Okay.
I do not think anything like that. Let me give you an example. Somebody comes up with a fantastic strategy to do home delivery. He sets out the business model, the operations, he pays people. Then March 2020, COVID arrives, and they say stay indoors. No matter how foolproof that strategy is, an external factor has hit it, right?
Yeah.
Then the other guy who was doing videos, Zoom, suddenly becomes $1 million company because they focused on where they were good at. Sometimes you have to stay where you are best at for long enough for the external opportunity to meet you where you are. So it's not necessarily foolproofing. It's just being able to articulate your choices in a coherent fashion that keeps you viable enough to be ready for when the external factors are right.
Okay, so something else I would like to, or we would like to know is the consideration of failure. How do we manage failure? Or is that not a possibility?
Failure is always a possibility.
Okay.
Yeah, no matter how hard you think, like I said, you are only dealing with what might be. What you thought might be might not, be an eventuality given your circumstances. So when you fail, the first point of call is, how do I learn from the failure? How do I evolve from the failure? Where do I pivot to? What have I learned from this, and what else is possible, right? And the components of your structure, whether it is, because you can't determine how people respond to you. You can determine how you position yourself. That is strategy. You can say, okay, I want to focus on young mothers who are giving birth because I'm selling diapers, right? You come out with that and you do your pricing and all that setup. And when you put it out there, you discover that young mothers don't want to buy diapers online. Then you step back and say, okay, how do I do this? I probably need to go to events. I probably need a shop to complement my online presence. Or I probably need to collaborate, and so forth. So it's always a learning journey when you hit failure. But it does not absolve you from the need to articulate your next set of steps, your next set of choices. And strategy is a coherent set of choices.
Okay, so two more questions. So one is, what would you say is a step-by-step pattern or flow to creating a strategy?
Okay, I would. That's a good question, and I will use it to talk about the interactive ideation session, which is the step-by-step flow we use in our sessions. The first thing we ask you to do is to tell us in 2 minutes what you are trying to do. We call it a pitch. A pitch is structured starting from your backstory, that is passion, why, your why. It includes the problem you're trying to solve, your peculiar solution, your traction, which means how far you've come attempting to solve that problem, the team you're working with, and then finally, what you want us to do for you, whether it is investing or collaborating or buying from you. So can you fit these 7 things in 2 minutes of your pitch? Because that brings you to a point of clarity. Do I know exactly what I'm doing? The moment you are perambulating, saying all sorts of things, trying to capture the entire market, you're making a mistake. So we try to arrive at that. Can you clearly articulate your effort? Once you clearly articulate that, we try to arrive at a vision and mission, because it's an extract of what you're trying to do. What is my ideal final state. That's a vision. A mission is, what do I want to be doing at intervals to reach that ideal final state? Many people don't have an ideal final state because all they are trying to do is to make some money. So you establish that. Then the next thing we do is begin to evaluate you, a SWOT. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? How do you use your strengths to augment your weaknesses? What are the opportunities in your context? What are the threats in your context? How do you use your strengths to capture opportunities and overcome threats? And so forth. There's a whole session on articulating those. Understanding who you are, number one, that's strengths and opportunities, and understanding where you are. Strengths and weaknesses, and understanding where you are, that is opportunities and threats. From there, that's basically saying, this vision you have articulated, can you actually deliver it? That's what the SWOT helps you determine. From there, we move into the PESTEL, or the PEST, which is saying, these opportunities and threats are external factors. Can I break them down to political, technological, economic, and other factors that are present within my context? You fill in from there to begin to talk about other elements, which we could go on and on to talk about, like how do you create value for the customer? The value proposition canvas. What capability in your context matches what the customer wants? Because it's not just about, I can do this. It's about who wants this done. Right. So we could go on and on until we arrive at maybe 3 to 5 statements based on these analyses that establish, I want to play in the emerging entrepreneur space. I am going to share with them my experience through selling, time, and thought. I will focus on emerging entrepreneurs in Africa. So when you do this analysis from the beginning to end, you arrive at statements of your strategy. And then from there you say, okay, these are the statements of my strategy. What am I going to do to implement your roadmap, your 1-year roadmap? Q1, I'll do this. Q2, I'll do this. Q3, I do this. Then I keep iterating. Is it working the way I thought it was? And so forth. So this is like a flow, beginning from what exactly do I want to do? Who am I and where am I? Who am I going to be doing this for? How do I establish the finite set of elements that constitute delivering this? I can't do everything. And then what are my roadmap steps? So that's a typical simple flow, which we expand on in a one-on-one session.
Okay, that was really good and very profound. So given that we are in 2026 and we know where the world is with artificial intelligence, so why come to that website you earlier mentioned as opposed to just going to, say, a ChatGPT or a Claude and just lay out my complaints?
That is a very beautiful question. And the way I'll answer it to say what I said before, there is what might be versus what has been before. Every large language model you deal with today is responding to you based on past data. And based on data that is largely articulated from the Western world. That's very important to note. From the Western world. Right?
Yeah.
Most of the data is from contexts that are out of your context to start with. All right. That is where if you say, give me the photo of a man, you're likely to get a white man. Give me the photo of a woman, you're likely to get yeah. Your prompting can be great, and you probably can get something that is great. And that is why as the world of generative AI evolves, people begin to realize more and more that this is an augmentation, not a replacement of human intelligence. I hope you know that.
Yeah.
So definitely the Claudes, the Geminis, the ChatGPTs, the llamas, and all that can help you articulate your strategy, right? But the usefulness of it, it's always dependent on your skill, your level of understanding, your ability to ask the right questions. And sometimes asking the right questions comes from experience.
Okay, that's really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day.